This strange trio has always attracted a lot of attention. Each of them is a bright star in the world of cinema. Therefore, their relationship doesn't give rest to both their fans and those who are just greedy for Hollywood gossip. In addition to their long-standing friendship, they share a special, somewhat gloomy view of the world. All three are eccentric, extravagant, and talented people who have been consistently supporting each other for several decades. Two of them were married, became parents, and separated, but remained friends. The third one became the godfather of their children, a muse and like-minded person for a man, and a sincere friend for a woman. Today on the Biographer Express channel, we'll talk about the relationship of the star trio, Burton, Depp, Carter. What is the feature that unites Helena and Johnny the most? Is there more than just friendship between Burton and Depp? But which of them openly defended Johnny in the scandalous story of his divorce from Amber Heard? Get comfortable, and let's get started. 2019, England, Oxfordshire Abington Town. In a local historic pub, Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter are sitting at a table in a dim corner over a glass. Tim stayed at home and they have something to talk about without him, because their relationship with Depp has always been divided into separate pairs, Johnny Tim and Johnny Helena. It so happened from the very beginning of their acquaintance that Johnny was always somewhere in the middle between Burton and Helena, their mutual friend. One of the common links that remained unchanged even after their divorce. The few local regulars either do not see anything surprising in that or pretend that it does not concern them. Although later, one of them anonymously sent this information to the media, as well as the fact that Depp was also seen in the nearby Sutton Courtenay when he rode around in the village on a bicycle and, according to eyewitnesses, he looked happy at the same time. That was exactly what Johnny needed at that time. A respite next to close friends, away from the press, scandals, and slander. He was in nature, thousands of miles away from Hollywood and all those exhausting public showdowns. The dirty story of his divorce from his ex Amber Heard and his lawsuit against News Group Newspapers Ltd. The lawsuit with the News Group resulted in the refusal of Warner Bros. To further cooperate with the actor in further parts of the Fantastic Beasts franchise. This was followed by the refusals of other studios and directors to cooperate with the one who suddenly turned from a Hollywood superstar into an outcast. The one in whose defense only the closest and most principled people decided to stand up publicly, among whom, of course, were Tim and Helena. During this period, Johnny was literally crushed because, thanks to the endless negative publicity, a long-term brilliant career was irresistibly carried away into the abyss. I was as low as I believe I could have gotten. The next step was, you're going to arrive somewhere with your eyes open and you're going to leave there with your eyes closed. I couldn't take the pain every day. It was at this time that the star couple, Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter, invited Johnny to stay at their historic Mill House estate in Oxfordshire, which they acquired in 2006 when they were still together. Although unofficial sources claimed that at the beginning of the visit, it was more like a retreat that Burton and Helena organized at home, along with several other close friends of Johnny, among whom was the classic rock superstar Alice Cooper, with whom Depp founded the rock band Hollywood Vampires. According to the testimonies of friends and colleagues, Johnny steadily destroyed himself day after day before their eyes, sinking deeper into a depression, alcohol, and prohibited substances. So, a Life and Style source reported, Johnny's pals fear his partying is once again catching up to him. The actor himself confirmed his unstable condition, admitting in an interview with Rolling Stone that he drank a lot after his divorce from Heard. Tim Burton was firmly convinced that his friend was the victim because Heard was trying to exploit the popularity of the #MeToo movement. According to the director, the accusations against Depp were nothing more than a witch hunt. I always used to think about society that way. As the angry village, you see it more and more. It's a very, very strange human dynamic. A human trait that I don't quite like or understand, he said in an interview with The Independent. This is not the first time Burton has supported Johnny during a difficult period of life. One day during the period when Tim Burton was just casting actors to shoot in his new film, Edward Scissorhands, in one of the cafes in Los Angeles, he met the star of the TV series for teenagers, 21 Jump Street, 26-year-old Johnny Depp. Tim was already a well-known director by that time and managed to shoot such successful films as Beetlejuice and Batman. He had no idea who Johnny was and what he was famous for among young people, but he realized right away that it was him, his Edward Scissorhands. Helena was not on the horizon at that time, and Burton was married to the artist Lena Jisicki, and the story of their trio began with this fateful meeting of Tim and Johnny.
I'd never seen the show he'd done, 21 Jump Street, but I knew about him, and after I met him, I realized he was that character, somebody who he's always been sort of misperceived by looking like a, poster boy, and inside there was always something different, and that's sort of what the character of Edward Scissorhands was.
Prior to that, Tim Burton had already had an interview regarding the role with the producer's favorite Tom Cruise and several other equally well-known actors. But having personally met Johnny, Tim realized that only he should play the role of Edward. In addition, these two immediately found an understanding not only regarding the vision of the role. He was a bit similar to me. Kind of suburban, white trash, whatever. We connected on some kind of level. It wasn't even a verbal understanding. It was just somebody I could feel liked to do characters, who was interested in acting for the art of it and not so much for the business of it. The role of Edward, a bizarre creature born from the experiments of a scientist inventor in this extravagant fantasy Gothic romance film, was supposed to be the first significant role in Johnny Depp's career. But this might not have happened if Burton hadn't desperately defended his candidacy to 20th Century Fox. The studio insisted to the last on the participation of the already famous Cruise in the project. But having found the perfect actor, Burton did not back down. Depp, in turn, also felt that he had not just received several successful career chances, but also found his director, with whom he was ready to embark on any cinematic adventure. In one of his interviews, he said how lucky he was to have the opportunity to work with Tim in more than one project, and that each of these times, at the very beginning of their collaboration, Burton had to literally fight for Johnny to be taken on the role. Tim is a filmmaker I admire, but he's much, much more than that. Without embarrassing him, he's a true artist, which is something I wasn't sure was possible in today's cinema, but he's the real thing. He's a visionary, an auteur, totally uncompromising. What else did they have in common? What they have agreed on since their very first meeting is love and admiration for the talent of silent movie stars. When Johnny Depp was preparing for the role of Edward Scissorhands, he rewatched Charlie Chaplin and Lon Chaney's films to learn how to show feelings without words. Burton saw this ability in Johnny right away, and it was one of those aspects of Depp's personality that initially touched the director. You don't get that many times in your life where you just connect with somebody and it's really simple. From day one, we've talked about people like Lon Chaney. He is Lon Chaney. And that's what always got me into movies, that kind of actor, that kind of person. That's the DNA and the energy of making films. We've always weirdly connected on things. Professional relationships quickly developed into personal and friendly ones. Given the small age difference of only 5 years and the fact that they both had a lot in common even off the set. When Johnny and his co-star Winona Ryder announced their engagement during the filming of Edward Scissorhands, Tim was at the epicenter of their relationship, and as a close friend, he was also the one who helped Johnny recover from their painful breakup in 1993. At that time, he and Depp had just begun their next collaboration on the film Ed Wood, about the cult cinematographer of the same name. I felt weird to be around him, like he wasn't acting like Johnny anymore. It's almost like Winona took Johnny's soul, Johnny's love. Considering all the circumstances and the state of the actor during this period, Tim, although it was difficult for him to work with Depp at that time, did not abandon him as the director of the picture and tried as much as possible to help his friend get out of this emotional hole. These two films were the beginning of a long-term successful creative collaboration of Burton-Depp. Over the years, Burton has released 8 films starring Johnny Depp. There were still Sleepy Hollow, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Corpse Bride, Sweeney Todd, Alice in Wonderland, Dark Shadows, and Alice Through the Looking Glass, most of which had high box office. And if Burton still had to defend the main role of a friend actor in Sleepy Hollow to the producers, then starting with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the film companies themselves offered him Johnny Depp. The stellar acting start that Depp was secured by participating in Burton's successful films opened the doors for him to such multi-million-dollar franchises as Pirates of the Caribbean, which raised him to the elite of Hollywood. A-list stars. And which of their joint films do you like the most? Share the titles with us in the comments. Already after their first joint pictures, critics began to call Depp Burton's alter ego, and there really is something in this because their duo invariably released films that could not be overlooked. It is also interesting that most of the films that Burton and Depp made together, namely 6 out of 8, are also films in which Depp starred together with Tim Burton's now ex-wife, Helena Bonham Carter. The joint filming of Johnny and Helena became an additional factor that brought the second couple in their triad closer, not only on the set, but also in real life. Indeed, if you look deeper into the relationship of these stars, their trio is actually divided into 3 couples with a closer relationship: Burton-Carter, Burton-Depp, and Depp-Carter, who are also united by common friendly, creative, and family relationships. Tim Burton met Helena in 2000 when he started filming his Planet of the Apes. At the same time, their romance began, which lasted for 14 years. Since their acquaintance, Helena has starred in 8 Tim's films. 2 children were born, a boy, Billy Ray, and a girl, Nell. They managed to break up in 2014 while remaining close friends, and all these years, Johnny has always been somewhere nearby. During the breakup of the couple, which Helena, despite the unofficial status of their relationship, called nothing but a divorce, Johnny invariably supported both of them because both were very painfully experiencing this joint decision. This trio has always considered themselves a family. Johnny even became Billy and Nell's godfather, and Helena, although she was younger than Johnny, always took maternal care of him. He's blood. He's family. This is how Depp spoke about Burton in one of his interviews, and it said a lot about their relationship. And Helena, in the interview, called the trio not just a family, but a weird family. And despite the fact that Depp also has a very close and warm relationship with Helena, Depp and Burton are brought together by a special friendship and incredible mutual understanding. They got an intuitive understanding of each other, and they have all that cultural reference that I have no idea about. They were brought up on the same diet of television and just culturally American, so most of the time I have no idea what they're having to laugh about. And also there's a lot of things that I just don't find funny. Boys' humor. There are legends about a very special creative chemistry between Johnny and Tim.
When it comes down to, script notes and stuff like that, if we sit down to talk about the character or talk about a scene and compare script notes, and there have been times when they've been like identical, or the notes on the page. And then the approach to the character, like with the Mad Hatter, for example, I had this weird little watercolor that I'd done of what I thought he should look like, and then I brought it to Tim, and then Tim had his drawings, and it was like they were very, very close.
Apparently, this is what makes their joint work so extraordinary. Burton's view as a director on the concept of the film as a whole is always so harmoniously combined with Depp's vision as an actor that these two don't even need to discuss something in detail. And in general, even they themselves note how strangely they sometimes communicate with each other. It's very nice to have someone that you can have a completely abstract conversation with and leave the room, feel like everything's fine, and then realize that if you pick it apart, you have absolutely no idea what either of you said. Of course, this special unity gave rise to a lot of ambiguous assumptions about the true nature of their relationship, and Helena even began to be regularly asked if she was jealous of Tim for Johnny when she and Burton were still together. This invariably caused her outright indignation. Tim is not having sex with Johnny. No, I rejoice in the friendship. Johnny is a marvelous man and a wonderful friend, she answered once. Sometimes, during the joint work of the three of them on one of the films, Johnny found himself in the very center of creative disputes between Tim and Helena. Over time, Bonham Carter even developed a certain tactic of how, taking advantage of the situation, to convey her creative remarks to Tim, who did not always listen to her with the same attention with which he took into account Depp's opinion. Johnny was caught in the middle. In the end, I realized I shouldn't really have any good ideas. If I had a good idea, I should give it to Johnny. If I gave it to Johnny, Johnny would mention it to Tim, and then it was a marvelous idea. If I mentioned it, it would be an absolutely crap idea. We worked our way through it. But Burton and Helena's relationship as a man and a woman, according to both, generally did not affect their creative interaction. Only in Sweeney Todd, the intensity of emotions sometimes increased. I'd never sung before. He had never done a musical, and it's that classic thing that you take your stress out on the person who you know best, Helena said about this period. But no matter what, she always trusted the creative vision of her life partner and always respected him as a director and creative personality. And he, in turn, appreciated and continues to appreciate her versatile and dramatic talent. What's great about working with Tim, when you're involved with him, is that I get to see that on set he's having fun. He can't really cook, but he's really good at film directing. And also, it's Tim Burton. He's a genius. As for the collaboration of friends in the future, this question remains open for now. Despite Burton's support for the actor, they have not worked together on films since Dark Shadows. Some sources suggest that this is due to the failure of their last picture, which was not well received by critics and viewers. The director himself openly declares that he does not rule out the possibility of cooperation in the future, believing that the most important thing is to find the right use for Johnny's dramatic talent. He's a great actor. Johnny copes well with his work duties. Says the director, if there's a suitable project, and I know that he's ideal for work, then I call him at the first opportunity. Before moving on to the relationship between Johnny and Helena, we suggest you subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to learn more about the life and relationships of your favorite stars. And while you're doing that, we'll continue. In the Helena-Johnny pair, everything is somewhat different. There's a main component, cement, which initially united and still continues to unite them. This is the unchanging love of each of them for Tim, but after getting to know each other better, they found a lot in common besides that. Johnny and I sort of have our friendship separate from Tim and his relationship. We have similar tastes in certain things. We like dressing up, camouflaging ourselves. In the media, Johnny and Helena are often called the king and queen of quirky. When journalists talk about her like that during an interview, Helena often adds, "God quirky." I've always been happy to wear things I like and not follow what's in fashion. I just thought I'd never look good in what everybody else wore, so there's no point trying. You just have to do what suits you, and it doesn't matter if you don't look like everybody else. Be you. Johnny could definitely subscribe to every word in Helena's quote, who, like her, is used to not paying attention to what others think about his appearance. The main thing is that he likes it and remains himself. In his image, classic biker jackets, details of women's wardrobe, eclectic jewelry, eccentric hats and scarves, tattoos, eyeliner, and eccentric glasses can freely coexist. Even as a teenager, he loved to change clothes, not shying away from taking mother's frilled blouses and seersucker flares for this. When I met people, they said, "You do look like a hobo, but you smell really good," Johnny admitted. They both like to collect some strange trinkets that they keep for themselves from the films they starred in. And if in Johnny's case, it's just random details that belong to one of his movie characters, such as, for example, a two-piece gold and black tasseled brocade number used in a striptease sequence from the filming of Ed Wood, or sets of dangerous razors from the filming of Sweeney Todd, then Helena has false teeth and underwear that she used to embody her screen roles. She took teeth because it was such a very personal item that was made individually for her for the role, and underwear because it was usually unusual, and the actress liked it. I keep stuff from movies so I can give it to my grandchildren someday, if I have them. But I don't think that Helena and Johnny are the only freaks in this weird family about collecting. Tim, for example, has a small collection of shrunken heads. Their incredibly emotional joint game in Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street, was noticed not only by critics, but also by gossips, immediately trumpeting that Burton's lover and his best friend had an affair. Moreover, before that, they had already played a couple in love in Burton's Corpse Bride, although there was only voice acting, which everyone read out separately. So Sweeney Todd was actually their first full-fledged collaboration, which was the reason for the rumors. In the film, Helena played the hostess of a meat pie shop, who was madly in love with Johnny Depp's character, a killer hairdresser. There were two dark hearts, one unrequited love, a deep drama, flooded to the ears with blood. Helena had to convey on the screen all the bitter and still hopeful depth of this love, and judging by the gossip about their affair with Depp in the media, she succeeded brilliantly. At that time, their relationship with Tim was 7 years old. They already had a son, and journalists often asked the actress whether it was uncomfortable or awkward for her to flirt with Depp and demonstrate such realistic feelings in front of her husband. Not really. Maybe it should have been? No. The fact I was being paid by my boyfriend to romance his best friend. It was, I guess, a strange situation, but no, I didn't worry about it. In addition, there was also a musical where both actors had to sing, and not just like some short songs, but full-fledged arias. It was still a challenge for both of them, and this, most likely, brought them closer together. Before the audience and critics saw the final product, there was a lot of gossip about the fact that Burton gave the main roles to his favorite Depp and his wife Carter only because of sympathy, although they both never sang in musicals. But both Depp and Helena proved that they deserved these roles. Both worked tirelessly on mastering the vocal art and always supported each other. As a result, their candidacies were approved not only by Burton, but also by the co-author of the original musical, Stephen Sondheim. The couple even had an external resemblance in the film which only emphasized their special bond. There is deeply buried emotion and charged motivations in both characters that Depp and Bonham Carter consistently express, and the eerie similarity of their looks, the endlessly dark eyes, cascading black hair, delicate facial structure, sunken cheeks, exaggerated lips, slight stature, accentuates the characters' complicity. Depp and Carter also have one joint work outside of their stellar triumvirate, Gore Verbinski's film, The Lone Ranger. But In order for their chemistry to work to the fullest, Tim was clearly not enough as a director because the picture turned out to be quite mediocre. In the meantime, all fans of this eccentric, talented trio are worried about one question. Will we see their screen magic in the future, given the boycott that Hollywood has now arranged for Johnny? In Burton's latest work, the series Wednesday, based on the characters of the famous The Addams Family, Tim was not allowed to attract Depp to the role of Gomez Addams, the father of the family, as he had planned since the beginning of work on the project. But Hollywood's memory is not that long. Now, Depp does not advertise his future plans for cinema and whether they exist at all. There are rumors that he's considering leaving Hollywood altogether, but Johnny himself has not confirmed this in any way. Instead, he spends a lot of time with his daughter, Lily Rose Depp, paints pictures, and travels around the country with performances as part of his cool rock band Hollywood Vampires. The actor's latest projects were participation in a new advertising campaign from Dior to their new perfume Sauvage, with a contract for $20 million. And at the Cannes Film Festival in 2023, Depp debuted his first film project after the trial, French-language drama Jean du Barry. Despite the mixed reviews of the picture, eyewitnesses claimed that the actor was tearing up after receiving a 7-minute standing ovation at the premiere. But scandals explode, are actively discussed, and eventually forgotten because they are replaced by new, more recent ones. Therefore, let's hope that we'll still have the chance to witness their new talented collaborations. And if you're interested in all the details of the history of the relationship and divorce of Johnny Depp and his ex Amber Heard, click on the video that appeared on your screen and watch. Just don't forget to like this video before that. It was Biographer Express. We're always happy to prepare new, interesting stories for you, so stay with us.